Penguin presents Believe by Nicola Adams, read by Emma Swan. Prologue. And the winner is... As I raised my fist into the air and listened to the crowd screaming my name, I knew my life would never be the same again. I had just beaten my arch-rival Ren Cancan in the London Olympics and become the first woman ever to win an Olympic gold medal for boxing. I'd made history, and it felt incredible. I'd like to say what happened on the 9th of August 2012 came as a big surprise to me, but I'd be lying. I've known since I was 13 years old that one day I would be standing in a boxing ring having just made history. I may have come up against a lot of adversity and been challenged with some serious injuries along the way, but I always knew I'd make it somehow. I had the determination, the skills, and the focus, and most importantly, I believed I would. 1. The warm-up. If you'd told me when I was 11 years old that I'd become a world champion boxer one day, I would have laughed at you. At that age, I was more interested in climbing trees and winding up my brother, Curtis. I was just a normal kid who went on to have very big dreams. I was born at St James's Hospital in Leeds at 7:20 a.m. on the 26th of October 1982. I weighed in at £7 12 ounces, which, considering I'm only 5'4", is pretty sturdy. I was a real mummy's girl when I was very young, and I still am, but my mum is the only person in the world who's allowed to call me that. I didn't like anyone apart from her holding me, and I used to go mad if anyone else tried to pick me up. I also cried a lot, which seems weird because I'm really not a crier at all these days. It takes a lot to get me emotional. My mum, Dee, said I was a happy baby and a mischievous toddler and always getting into some kind of bother. And while I may have cried a lot, I also smiled a lot, which is something that's continued to this day. People often comment on the fact that I'm always smiling, and because I was so cheerful, my mum signed me up with a local modelling agency and I started doing some jobs here and there. I didn't do it for very long because my parents were both working and I was being asked to go to Scotland for shoots and all sorts, and it became really hard getting me from place to place. I began to suffer very badly from eczema as a young child, so my mum was always worrying about me. Once, when I was tiny, she left me in my cot to run downstairs and get something, and when she came back, I'd scratched my arms so badly they wouldn't stop bleeding, and she had to take me to hospital to get checked out. I'd somehow got my scratch mittens off, and my skin was so raw the doctors said it looked like I had a serious burn. I had to have cream on my skin at all times, and I was so good at getting my scratch mittens off. My doctor told my mum to get a pair of socks over them on my hands and attach them around my back with elastic to keep them in place. It was the only way she could be sure I could be left alone for more than 5 minutes without scratching myself. I was allergic to all dairy products when I was a baby, so my mum had to feed me on soya milk once I stopped breastfeeding. She tried me on formula, like most mums do, but I kept being sick, and eventually they discovered that I was allergic to all sorts of things. As I got older and tried different foods, things got worse, and by the time I was 3, I was basically allergic to life. I was allergic to nuts, fish, chocolate, dairy products, you name it. Thankfully, the only thing I'm still allergic to now is nuts, but my allergy is pretty severe. Mum first found out I was allergic to nuts one Christmas when she fed me a tiny bit and I came up in this bright red stinging nettle type rash. If I ate the wrong thing, I was sick or went into shock. Once, I ended up in hospital after eating some chocolate. The only way my mum could find out what was wrong with me was by feeding me small amounts of foods. It was a process of elimination, and all she could do was try me out with everything and see how I'd react. At that point, a rash or vomiting were the only side effects, but as time went on, my reaction
Sample complete. Ready to continue?